Art is too important not to share. Welcome to the Allie and Callie Artcast.
Hi, I'm Allie.
And I'm Callie. Welcome to the Artcast.
Yes, and I'd like to give a little shout out to Chelsea Cordova, who is filling in as our co-producer
a wonderful
today.
Artist that we have known for many, many years.
And has been a guest on this podcast in the past.
Absolutely.
I don't remember what number, but I think it was season 1.
I think so, too.
Yeah.
She also works at Art Spirit Gallery.
That's right.
And she lives in Spokane, which she used to live here. So we're not happy about that.
I know.
But
she's too far away.
You got to do what you got to do.
Right.
You live where you have to live.
That's right.
Yeah. So, but thank you so much, Chelsea, for filling in. Mm-hmm. Janie is off, and where is she?
She's going to Barcelona.
Barcelona.
Yeah.
That's how you say it. Barcelona.
Barcelona.
I don't know why I do that. Anyway, Kristen's busy.
Who are you?
I don't know. I don't know. It's some theater joke. Barcelona. I don't know why.
Oh, okay.
I don't remember.
Okay.
Because I'm losing it.
Oh, was it the young man from Music Man that would say Barcelona?
I don't know. It's in company. Where you go in Barcelona? Oh, don't get up. It's a terrible song. I hate it. He's sleeping with a stewardess, because that's back in the day they were stewardesses.
Right.
It's a terrible song. Anyway, that's where I think it came from. But
okay.
Anyway, what about you?
A little education there.
Off rabbit tracks.
Right.
Anyway, what's going on with you?
Well, we are getting ready for a little adventure in Canada.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Where are you going exactly?
We're flying into Vancouver and doing a road trip to Calgary.
I love that.
I know. Kind of excited.
You and Kevin?
Uh-huh.
And are you going to see family at all or no?
I don't know. I'm hoping that we can meet up with
Megan and...
I don't think we're going to get to see Megan and Dylan, my daughter and her husband. Mm-hmm. But Kevin has never met Dylan's parents who live in Calgary, and I'm hoping that we'll be able to meet up with them and have dinner with them.
That'll be nice.
Meet them. They're very nice people.
I love that area. I haven't been there in a bazillion years, but I just remember Vancouver being so beautiful. And
we're not going to spend much time in Vancouver.
You're just going to drive through it.
Yeah, we're going to go north to that Sky Pilot.
North to Alaska. Sorry. I can't. Yeah, who put a nickel in me? I don't know. That's what my dad would say.
Right?
Put a nickel in
I think inflation is a dime.
Yeah, it should be. Anyway, that'll be a fun
trip.
We'll
do some hot springs, and we're going to the wine country. And
nice.
Yeah, it'll be fun.
Canadian wine.
Canadian wine, yeah.
Oh, I'm
in
sure
the Penticton area.
Mm-hmm.
But I'm really excited about the gondola ride that goes up to the Sky Pilot Bridge, and you have amazing views of the Sound. I just happened to come across it, and I thought it would be a good thing to do.
Okay, it sounds very high and very scary to me.
We'll probably go to Whistler also. I've never been there, so I hear it's really pretty.
Yeah, I've never done that either. Mm-hmm. Well, I'm excited for your trip.
Yeah.
So I'll live vicariously through you.
Okay.
Since I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
I'm just going to work and hang out with my grandbaby and family. So all is well, though. Fall is great. Isn't it?
Fall is great.
It is good.
Yeah.
So it's time to,
I get to put the garden to bed and quit watering.
It's time to maybe turn on our fireplaces and read a good book.
And read a good book.
Speaking of
great
books,
segue.
I thought it was.
You're so smart.
Oh, thank you. Oh, well, we are very excited to have our next guest.
Yes, Susie Fieckert.
And she has written her very first book.
Mm-hmm. First novel.
And welcome to
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Yes. And you wrote a book, Abby's Road, and we both read the book. It's like a slice of life.
It is.
It's really, that's what I call it.
It's a good read.
It is a good read. And why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes.
About myself?
About you.
How did you come to this area, and what made you decide to write a book?
I know. What got you to Bonners Ferry, Idaho?
Well, a lot of that is in the book. But,
It's true.
But, the short part of it is that it was a second marriage. My kids were going off to college, and between my husband and I, my new husband and I, we had 6 kids that were all over the country, so we could go anywhere. And we took a month of September and drove across the country and back, trying to find a place we wanted to start focusing on. We had no intention of buying land yet, and we sort of fell into this area in Bonners Ferry. You know, we met people at Glacier at an Airbnb we were staying at who happened to be neighbors, and he happened to be a real estate agent that had this property we ended up buying listed, and it was a weird series of events that led to that, but we weren't really ready to buy, and before we got home we had purchased this land, and
Whoops.
yeah,
like,
exactly.
Did we just do that?
So, yeah, exactly. And we got, we put an offer down, a low offer, and decided we'll just make an offer, and we're not going to negotiate. If they turn it down, we're going to walk away.
Right. Wasn't meant to be, right?
So they called, and we gave them 72 hours. So the agent called us back right away and said, I don't think they're going to accept it, but they're going to sleep on it. We said, okay. And I think we had gotten to Kentucky, and when the call came in at like the 70th hour, and they said, they've accepted your offer. And, it's in the book, the first thing out of my mouth was not, oh, yay, or, it was kind of, oh, shit.
Oh, boy.
What have we done? And where is Bonners Ferry?
Right. Whoa. I mean, I lived between Baltimore and D.C. my entire life. So that's what I knew, and everyone I knew was there. So it was a huge change for me moving out to Bonners Ferry. We knew we wanted to get away from the traffic and the humidity around the Washington, D.C. area. I mean, that was just getting so bad.
Right.
But what we ended up in was probably the other extreme.
Yeah.
Completely
different.
It took a little bit of adjusting, but I can't imagine going back now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I absolutely love it.
That's great.
Yeah. I love that you say in the book that it's 85% you and 15% made up, which makes me feel like I really got to know you reading the book, which is cool.
And I'm sure you did.
Yeah.
It's, I mean, I drew from all of my own experiences. So the book closely follows my own journey. And my husband who's read it, 300 times, helping me throughout the process. He kept having to tell me, it doesn't have to be exact.
Yeah.
It's fiction. You can change things. So, so there are a few little things that we changed, but I wanted to keep it flowing. And, so it's just, the whole process has been really fun, and I've learned a ton. So
I bet.
Well, it was really fun for me to read it because I also moved here from Virginia, but a lot longer than you did ago. But you are friends with my sister-in-law, Tina.
Yes.
Which, hi, Tina.
Hi, Tina.
I bet she'll listen to
I
this
bet
one.
she will.
I'm sure.
Yeah, so it's kind of fun that when you put it out on Facebook, my sister said, oh, you should be on the podcast. And I went, yes, you should.
So fun.
Yeah, that worked out well.
Yes, it did.
Yeah. And your book is out now, right?
It came out in hardback and paperback on August 10th, and then September 10th it came out on a Kindle version.
Okay. And you can get it on Amazon.
On Amazon or in Bonners Ferry bookstore.
It's also on, for anybody that purchases like bookstores and stuff, it is on Ingram Sparks.
Okay.
So if they need it there. And I'm trying to get into a few of the other bigger bookstores, Barnes & Noble, but that's probably going to take takes
a little
about
time.
Month.
Yeah.
In fact, I'm scheduled to do a book signing at the one in Spokane Valley on October 27th. So that's a Sunday. So
that's fun.
Well, I want to talk a little bit about you and the story because it's really pretty fascinating. But I also want to talk about what made you want to write.
I like to read, and so I've always kind of played with the idea of, I'd like to write a book someday. And when I met my husband and we started on this journey, so many things were happening. I kept saying, I'm going to have to write a book someday. I'm going to have to write a book. And last September, I guess, I retired from real estate and really was worried about what I was going to do all winter because, as you know, the winters are long up here. And I don't do well when I have nothing to do. So I thought, I'm going to write that book. And so I went on Facebook and joined some of these sites, writer sites and author sites, and tried to find out, how did you get started? How do I start this process? And Of course, you get a million answers, everything from take a class, do this, do that, to one woman just finally said, pick up a pen and a pad of paper and just start writing. Mm-hmm. So I did that, and I started putting all my thoughts down. And as far as the book process, I realized I really don't know what I'm doing here. I mean, I can write forever, but, we'll see. So I got in touch with a kind of a hybrid publishing company, and I know there's some bad ones out there as well as some good ones, but, I did my research, and they set me up with a coach who's also an author, and he was fantastic. I mean, he was available anytime I needed him to walk me through the process and give me some encouragement and, tell me what to do next. And that helped a lot.
Yeah.
So,
wow.
And that company was?
It's selfpublishing.com.
So anybody that's looking for a possible
way to start,
that would be a good place to look.
It is. Now, it is this way. I did it as a little bit of money up front, but that gets you everything except for the editing, the professional editing, because that you'll have to pay that out of pocket. But it gets everything from the book cover to the formatting to they actually publish it with you on the phone and walk you through the process, on Amazon. So in all the coaching or online classes that you want to take, there's a multiple of those, every hour of every day that you could take. So it was very helpful. The next one, I don't think I'll need all of that now that I have a list of editors, and we'll see how it goes. So,
so you're going to keep writing.
I am.
Good.
I'm going to try another. I left it open, of course, in the back, for the next book. My goal is to write one a winter, because the winters are long here. Of course, the summers the weather's great, and we want to be outside in the garden and on the horses and all of that. So
horses.
So the next one, whereas this one is written more as a narrative. So the next one, I really want to develop Lucas's character a little bit more as well, where we'll have a chapter told by Abby and a chapter told by Lucas, so that we can really get into his head and get to know him.
That's fun.
So that's the plan.
That's great, because that's one of the things that I thought of in this book, that we really got to know you, but we didn't really get to know your husband or the husband of Abby. I know. I do that too. I know.
He sounds wonderful, though.
Yeah, he does.
Good guy. So you do live on a ranch. It sounds like you've got several horses.
We do.
We've
got 4 now. And we do a lot of riding in the mountains up here. And I will tell you, when I met him, he got me into horseback riding because he'd ridden his whole life. And I was almost 50. So learning to ride at almost 50 is a little slower going than when you're younger. I think there was a lot more fear involved.
Sure. It's a long way down if you fall.
Yeah, and I'm sure I'm going to break something, right? So,
exactly.
But it was a little slower going for me, and I had a couple setbacks that scared me, that really slowed my progression down. But, he got a little frustrated, but we eventually got there.
Yeah.
So.
The Ovation Company, in partnership with the Chalkboard Agency, is committed to improving the climate and culture of our schools. The number one indicator for student success is connectedness, feeling like you are part of something. Nothing helps connect people like a good story. After all, isn't a podcast a way to share and collect stories? The Chalkboard Agency's mission is to connect the world of education through the stories that bond us all. To find out more, visit thechalkboardagency.com. And if you have a story to tell that you believe would help young people to be kinder to one another, reach out to the Chalkboard Agency and let us connect you to the world.
Add a little flair to your special events with Scraps Barbecue, a great catering choice for your next gathering. Specializing in golf tournaments, sporting events, weddings, and other family friend gatherings, their commercial kitchen can be on site, or you can choose to have a fully catered meal delivered right to you. Known for their authentic Santa Maria-style tri-tip and tequila lime fish tacos, they can customize the menu to meet your needs for groups of 20 to 2,500. Contact Kevin at kevin@scrapsbarbecue.com or check them out on Facebook. All right, so why don't you tell us about the book?
About the book? So the book, obviously it's fiction, but drawn on a lot of my own experiences. I would say it's probably 85% true. 85% of what is in the book actually happened. Of course, the names are all changed. And if you're from Bonners Ferry, you'll probably recognize some of the characters in the book, although they go by a different name.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, so it really is her journey after going through a divorce at 48 years old, an unexpected divorce. Her kids are going off to college, like so many women we know nowadays. So many, you know, you find yourself in middle age and you're lost because you never planned on getting divorced. Your kids are gone and you don't feel like you fit in anymore. And it's scary. It's really, it's a scary thing looking forward. So my thought was kind of at that point was, who do I want to be? Where do I want to do it? And more importantly, how? You know, am I going to
So
do
you
this?
scared yourself even more by going to Bonners Ferry.
Well, before that,
You had to go.
before that, I scared myself. A good friend of mine had been divorced a year before me, and she encouraged me to sign up for Match.com, which is not anything I ever intended or thought I would do in my life. You know, she said, if nothing else, it'll be entertaining, and she was right there. So she was absolutely right. So we did that, and that's how I met my husband.
So it worked in your case.
It did. It worked after a couple like real interesting first dates with other people, but you know, that's in the book as well.
Yeah.
And this book really, it doesn't dwell on the divorce or anything like that because I wanted to start the book where the next chapter of her life starts. I've lived that. I don't want to live it again.
Yeah.
You know?
Yep.
Fresh start in a new life.
Exactly. And it's just moving forward because I was hoping to, while I think the book really could speak to anyone who's going through a major life change, particularly women that are in that case. And, you know, when I think about it, almost everybody I know is on a second marriage or more, unfortunately, you know, these days.
Yeah.
And so...
Or fortunately.
Yeah, well, yeah, however you look at it, this is true.
On the situation, yes.
And it can be really scary. I just kind of jumped in with Rich, and there were some things that scared me to death. I mean, some decisions like... When the day came when we drove away, my husband was already out building the house out in Idaho, and my dad and my dad drove out with me so I wouldn't have to drive alone. When we pulled out of Virginia, I had anxiety attacks, like one after another, thinking, what am I doing? Is this crazy? I'm going somewhere where I only know my husband, and I don't even know him that well. Because, I mean, so, you know.
It's a big step.
It was huge, but it ended up being probably one of the best decisions I've ever made in my life, and which reminded me of one of the biggest lessons was when my oldest son was going off to college. He wanted to go to the University of Utah so that he could snowboard more during the year. Right. And so
Priorities.
A good reason to go.
And we said, well, okay, as long as you keep the GPA up, you know, which he did. But 2 weeks before he was set to go, I think he had a major meltdown. And
Didn't want to leave the...
Well, we didn't even realize what it was at first. And then it finally came out that he was scared to death. And it was the biggest decision in his life so far and the scariest one. And he's still there. And he's 30 years old now. And he met his wife there. And he loves Salt Lake City. And it ended up being one of his best decisions ever. So it's those decisions that scare us the most in life. A lot of times have the biggest rewards.
Right. I love that.
Sometimes you just have to go for it.
You do. You just
Even
have
if it's scary, you just have to bite the bullet and go for it.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Well, that reminds me of a quote that I loved in your book. That is, the rear view mirror is smaller than the windshield
For a reason.
For a reason.
Yeah.
I love that quote. It gives me chills.
Yeah.
I don't know where I heard that, but it made total sense to me. You know, at that point in my life. So.
And you go through a lot in your journey and your time in Bonners Ferry and learning how to. Well, the character. Goes through a lot, and just learning how to live kind of out in the boonies.
Completely different lifestyle.
From a city girl to the boonies.
140 acres.
That was our first property. Yeah, and no neighbors we could see or hear. You know, really out there. And you know, it's so funny because my husband had a farm, and he's lived on several farms, and they don't have neighbors. And so when I first met him and went to his house on the farm, he had no curtains or blinds or anything at the windows, and I thought that was so odd.
Yeah.
You know? And then when we built the house out there, and we're in the middle of nowhere, and we're in the middle of a big field on our property, and I said, we've got to get window treatments. And he looked at me and he goes, why? I said,
Who's going to see?
because you don't know who's out there in the bushes, or you know. So, you know, and it took me a while to come around to that and get used to that, but you know, it's just one of those little things,
Right.
That and the sounds of all the wild animals that we certainly didn't have in a subdivision in Virginia.
Right. So you learned how to ride and take care of horses. You learned how to shoot a gun.
Yes.
Which is, I loved your story about how you never wanted to.
I never wanted to have a gun.
Right.
No. And in fact, when we were kids on the East Coast, which is very different from everybody out here, I don't know about you guys when you grew up there, but we couldn't go over to a friend's house to play if they had guns in the house. I mean, that was something, you know, we always had to ask.
Yeah.
And out here, every woman I've met carries a gun. It's so different.
Yeah.
It is. That's a totally different mentality.
So I was afraid of them. You know, I didn't want anything to do with a gun.
Yeah.
But at some point, you know, living out here, there are many, many reasons why you should, especially if you're in real estate and taking people you don't know out to look at property in the middle of nowhere.
Right. And there's some weird people out here.
Yes, there are.
Some odd places. There, a couple of those are in the book. Kind of fun stories. And the snowmobile rides.
Oh, yeah.
That I've done a couple snowmobile rides in my life, and I've done it twice, and I said, and that'll last me my whole lifetime. It's scary.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah. I will not do it again.
Not like that, anyway.
No.
I ride around the field once or twice.
That
but
might
you know,
it's just crazy.
not like that. That actually happened, and that, you know,
that was a doozy.
It was.
Yeah.
And then you worked for the fairgrounds.
The 4-H.
The 4-H.
The 4-H coordinator for the county. I jumped in. You know, I came out here and I wasn't ready to stop working when we moved out here. But Bonners Ferry is not exactly the land of opportunities for careers, you know.
Right.
So the pickings were slim. So I applied at a couple different things. And my husband, he said to me, you know, it's a new chapter. Why don't you take something that you would never have taken before? So the one that was least familiar to me, I took the 4-H coordinator. And that was a huge learning experience. But I did meet most of the people in the county that way. So that was, you know.
So it was a good move.
It was a good move. Yeah, it was interesting. It was full of a lot of laughs. I mean, the first day on that job was the first day of the fair, which ultimately I was going to be responsible for. And I went to county fairs in Virginia, but I never went to the animal barns. They were dirty. I went and listened to the live music. So here I had to show up the first day, get there at 7:00 to weigh in all the swine.
Yeah.
I said, all right. So I hung up the phone and said to my husband, swine are pigs, right? He goes, oh, no.
Yeah,
you know,
you're in
he was just
trouble.
like, oh, Lord.
Oh, boy.
I know.
It's going to be a long day.
And I expected 10 little pigs that I would have, but there were 220 large hogs, you know, with these little kids handling them and doing great jobs with it. I had no idea how. They just had these big sticks, and I'm sure you've been to these fairs.
Yeah.
So.
They know what they're doing.
Yeah.
I always love going to the animals, though. Yeah, they are a little stinky and messy. And then there's my favorite story is when you went to look for Luke, or Abby went to look for Lucas, and he had
the
accident
with the mule.
Right.
Yeah, that I absolutely had several moments of sheer panic when that really happened.
Yeah.
And it was a little different and just slightly different in the book is what actually happened. But most of it, I mean, he did have that accident on the mule, and it was terrifying.
Yeah.
So,
but what I loved about that story was Abby finding out what she was really made of
and what she can do.
Yeah.
Kind of when push came to shove, she stepped up and she
It's not what you can't do; it's what you can do.
It's what you can do.
Which is good. You learn how to be a frontier woman.
Well, you know, overcoming the fears that I developed with the riding, that was a big thing too. And as evidenced earlier in the book when I was learning to ride, if you took away the part of me that is thinking, oh, if I fall, I'm going to get hurt, I'm really really high up here, and made me focus on something else I could do it. And that kind of happened towards the end of the book. I didn't think about that. I know what I needed to do. And it was a big moment for me.
Yeah. Well,
Didn't realize it till later, but
right. Right.
Yeah.
After you relax.
Yeah. I know. I don't want to give too much away.
No, I know, right? I know. We're trying not to give too much away.
Yeah. But there's a lot of growth, and I've been divorced a couple times, but I think I've learned from every experience, and then kind of in this part, the growth that you see in this woman and how your experience with the people in Bonners Ferry and the type of women that are completely what you're familiar with.
Oh, totally foreign to me.
Yeah, and how you're inspired by them.
Well, I still sometimes think about some of these women and say, my God, I mean, they're so strong and independent and fortuitous. To see a woman, well, changing the shocks on her truck.
Right.
I walk in there, I'm like, what are you doing? You know? But they have no problem doing it, or picking up their rifle and going deer hunting by themselves, and then bringing it back by themselves. Or they're independent and strong. They can split their own wood, and they're very independent. Yeah. And a lot of them hunt, which I was shocked at. I mean, I never knew a woman to hunt on the East Coast. I mean, maybe they did. I didn't know them.
I didn't know anybody.
I'd never seen a wild turkey before I came out here.
Well, so they're everywhere.
I know.
That's funny because we had wild turkeys in the neighborhood I grew up in Virginia.
Did you?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I remember one day that my dad and my mom, after it rained, there were all these wild turkeys in the bottom. We had lived on 3 acres.
Yeah.
And my dad got the brilliant idea for us to go out in the woods and go find those turkeys.
Yeah.
And we had a great day. We never found the turkeys.
No, but you had fun trying.
Yeah, that's right.
But the women in the area, I really have developed a deep respect and awe for these women, because I don't know that I could ever be that strong. I try, and I definitely have improved in that area, but they really amaze me at times, some of the stuff they do.
Well, it's just like there's a community there a whole new community that you might not have ever had.
Yeah.
In Virginia or
it's a
DC.
It's totally
a different
style.
lifestyle.
Totally different lifestyle.
Yeah.
And I sometimes say that, if some of my friends back in Virginia could see me now, they would think I'd lost my mind. But I'm happier.
Yeah.
So.
Well, and that's the important thing.
Yeah.
Greetings, listeners of the Allie and Callie Artcast podcasts. This is Jason from Tubbs Coffee Roasters. Keeping art alive and culture relevant is the heart and soul of our community of creatives. And as a local coffee roaster who loves a good origin story of a painter or a farmer or a musician, we proudly support the Allie and Callie's Artcast podcast's expansion and exploration through positive conversation. So grab a cup of coffee, preferably one from Tubbs Coffee Roasters, and tune in, humans. Your ears will thank you.
For all your screen printing needs, trust the local you can count on. Pyramid Printing has been a Coeur d'Alene favorite for over 2 decades.
Specializing in screen printing, embroidery, signs, banners, and stickers. For all jobs, big and small, just give Eric a call.
Email us at info@pyramidprintingcda.com or give us a call at 208-664-0254.
pyramidprintingcda.com. I have a hard time reading because I usually just go to sleep, but that was an easy read. I got it on Tuesday from Amazon, and I gave it to her on Thursday.
And I read it.
To read.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I read it in a day.
In a day.
Yeah,
you did better
That's
than me.
me. I'm a fast reader.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, and that's the other thing. When you're writing books, you have to count the words that you write. I never. And
you do?
Yeah. I mean, the last time I counted words was maybe grade school when you had to write a 500-word essay.
Yeah.
So
You're
you
like,
count
1,
every
2,
word.
3.
Right.
You do, because anything under 40,000 words is considered a novella, not a novel.
Oh.
So you really want to have it between 60,000 and 90,000 to be, a good sized novel. So I was at 66,000 words thinking, I'm doing good.
Yeah.
And then when it came out, it's just under 200 pages. So it's interesting to me.
Yeah. So you are planning kind of a sequel to this book.
Yeah.
And
Because winter's coming.
That's right.
I know, and I hope this isn't giving too much away, but what is the whole idea behind homesteading? Because that's kind of where your character
Is going to
wants
end up
to go.
So my plan is, this book is called Abby's Road, and so the next book will just be a continuation in the overall of Abby's journey, is kind of what my thought is. And in the next book, you'll see when you get to the end of this one that they are going to try, the next challenge will be trying homesteading for 1 year. They're going to give themselves 1 year, try it, and see if they can do it. And, if nothing else, they'll save some money. But, it's going to be work. But it's, Abby seems to like personal challenges. And Lucas finally agreed to go along with it. So homesteading is more of a living independently off the land, being more self-sufficient. We're doing a modified version, as you'll see when you get to the end of the book. So
You'll have internet.
Well, yeah,
maybe.
I'm happy to give up TV. Not sure that Lucas can do that, but we'll see. So we'll have to see.
I would have a hard time with that. I would.
With TV?
I love movies. See, that's my thing. Movies or series.
Right.
BBC, that would be hard. Anyway.
Yeah. So they're going to try a modified version, like a more realistic for their lifestyle, where they are going to give up certain things, and they're going to try to pretty much do all of the canning. I do have a greenhouse.
Okay, I was going to say, you got to have a greenhouse.
Yep. I have a nice greenhouse and a garden, and it's going to be more canning and preserving the foods and trying to live off of what you have. And a half a steer lasted us for a year and a half. You know? We have done elk before.
Yeah.
Tons of elk where we are. So we'll probably get a half an elk and split it with somebody. And there are a few animals that Lucas agrees to bring on to the property and raise, even though it's against his better judgment. So we'll see what happens.
Right.
They're going to try to bring on a dairy cow and some sheep. They've got the chickens. So we'll see how it goes. Doing my research right now for that.
Right.
That's great.
So are you doing that in real life?
I would like to do as much of it in real life as we can. I am still trying to convince my husband of that. So that we, he's come around some, but we'll see. I mean, he does like adventure, so what's better than trying these new things, right? So we will see. I'm also trying in the next book, while this book was a narrative, I want to develop Lucas's character more in the next book, so people can get to know him a little bit better as well.
Right.
And of them coming forward. So
that'll be great.
So what do your kids think of you writing a book?
I'm not sure they've read it yet.
Oh, really?
They've bought it, but I don't know that they've read it yet.
Okay.
So we will see. They were very excited for me.
Yeah.
Of course, the one of them is in there quite a bit, so we'll see what happens. It's
I think
funny.
they'd be proud of you. I think that's an accomplishment.
Yeah. My son Kevin is my youngest son, and his name stayed Kevin in the book only because he wanted to be known as Kermit, and I just couldn't do that. So I couldn't do it. I could
They get to choose their own name. Call me Kermit.
could not.
Oh, that's funny.
I could not.
Well, it's not easy being green.
That's right. So
That's great.
yeah.
Well, this has been fun. I love the book. I just love women in power and actually coming through maybe dark days, or disappointment, and you kind of rose above it all. And that's in the character.
Right.
Did. Absolutely.
Yeah.
The character did. It's just a good woman empowerment.
Right.
It's a woman's journey.
Woman's journey. It's just great.
Yeah.
And your son got married last year.
Yes.
Yeah.
Up at Elkins.
And I know my brother and his wife
Elkins.
came out for the wedding, but I think you had some other friends, like the Brosnahans came out. So they kind of got a glimpse into a little bit of your new life.
They did.
Yeah. How did they react?
Well, it's funny. Your brother, everyone stayed at the cabins at the Elkins Resort. And so I left like eggs or some stew or canned food or something, for the people that came in out of town. And your brother still can't believe I left him elk stew. Like, you call me Elks too? I did. I mean, he knew the old me, right? So,
Right. He's like, what's this? Wow, that's great.
I know.
But,
They came and stayed with us afterwards, and I am pretty sure that I got one of your jars of jam.
Oh, did you?
Yes.
Oh gosh, okay.
fun. That's fun.
Well, we opened it to eat it, and they couldn't really take
it on the
yeah,
plane.
So.
yeah.
I have a bunch more of that too. If you want any?
Well, I know I'd like to come up and see your place.
I would love that.
Yeah.
That would be great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It
Anytime.
that would be so
I've
cool.
only gone as far as Sandpoint.
Really?
I mean, I've driven up to Vancouver and whatever, but I
Yeah.
have never gone to Bonner's Ferry.
Wow.
You might have and just didn't realize it.
Maybe I
So-
have. That's true.
I mean, it's
a lot
not
of
much
things-
farther up
I know.
from Sandpoint.
I don't know how I would have missed it.
Well, we're going to have to go make
Where's
a visit.
Hope?
Definitely,
Hope
yeah.
is
Hope is to the east.
so Bonner's Ferry's
Is
north of
north.
that.
It's north.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think
just
I've been.
before Canada.
Yeah.
Yep,
They're
just
like 20
before
miles
Canada.
or something. Or-
We live 12 miles from Canada.
Oh, wow.
We're just north of the city.
Yeah.
6 miles up there. We would love to have you.
Oh, that would be great.
That'd be
Yeah.
fun. Well, it's a great book and continued success, and we'll make sure we put a link and we'll
yeah.
get people to go to Amazon and get
Right.
your book because it's out now.
It is. Thank
So-
you.
Yeah.
Well,
Yes.
thank you so much for coming down.
And she
thank
also
you for
has a
having me.
signing in Spokane.
I am.
Oh, yeah. When's
Spokane
that?
Valley.
That's on Sunday, October 27th at the Spokane Valley Barnes & Noble
Oh,
from
wow.
11 to 3. I will be there. We'll be selling books. And
Oh, that's
I'll
great.
be there talking about it. So,
Yeah.
if you're in the area. So.
Yep.
Get a
we
signed
might
book.
just have to stop by.
Yeah.
That'd be great.
Okay. Yeah.
So,
Well, good. Well, thank you again.
Yes.
thank you. Thanks
Yep.
so much for having me.
Absolutely.
I'm Allie.
And I'm Callie, and whatever you do today, make sure it's creative and maybe try something new.
Challenge yourself.
The Allie and Callie Artcast is sponsored in part by Tubbs Coffee Roasters, globally sourced, locally roasted coffee. Scraps Barbecue, a locally owned catering company. The Ovation Company, standing for what is right and good. And Pyramid Printing, a Coeur d'Alene favorite for over 2 decades.